is Jackie, and I'm here with the lovely Lights. We are here at DC's 930 Club. We talked last at the APMAs, but you've been making music for over 10 years now. What do you attribute to your longevity?
Oh, that's a good question. An endless supply of having to have energy, but no, I think it's just, I think I've always had an awesome connection with the fans, and I'm thankful for social media for that, and I'm always able to follow what I always want to do. I think I get to stay true to my who I am and my interests, and I think that we kind of go through a lot together, and they keep coming to shows, and if they keep coming to shows and keep listening to music, I'll keep making it because I love it, and I think that's what it comes down to. You
mentioned social media. How has your sound evolved since like the MySpace era? Look it up, kids. It's still sort of around again.
Yeah. Is MySpace coming back? Oh my God.
There's rumors.
Interesting. I just tried to reboot a couple times. R.I.P. MySpace. I miss it. Yeah, my I started out kind of like lo-fi electro emo. I think that's the way I could probably best describe it. But every time I've probably infused a little bit more of the live experience. After touring on the Listening, the first record I'm super proud of, I figured out what goes over really well live, and there needs to be a lot of dynamic, there needs to be singable parts, and there needs to be certain tempos that you use that make for a diverse, interesting show, and I think every record I start to apply that a little bit more. I get better at what I do, and I think I start to understand more of the idea of letting go as long as you have the core idea and you start to let other people into the record-making process to make it a more diverse idea, and that's Skin and Earth is pretty much the epitome of that. It has this amazing core concept, which I'm like so proud to see evolve, which was, the concept record, the comics that came out, issues 1 through 6 of Skin and Earth, also the same title, the characters I was able to write through, the Skin and Earth world, like it's just this really complete, cohesive idea, so I was able to let other influences in terms of production, and it made my sound different and bigger and more eclectic, and I think it suited the project really well.
Speaking of other influences, I feel like you're reading from my card or reading my mind. I'm not sure which. Great minds think alike, folks. You've done guest vocals, Silverstein, Owl City, Bring Me the Horizon, and more, and you've also worked have other musicians come in on your album. Josh Dunn did some drums. What is the benefits of collaborating with other artists, other producers, musicians in general?
It's exactly that. You get a little taste of what they do in your work, and it's always nice to collaborate with people from different genres and let a little bit of that in. You listen to a song like Savage, which Josh Dunn played drums on. He brought this amazing 21 Pilots vibe to it, and it was really, really cool. And he played on Almost Had Me as well. Until the Light has Corn Roddick from Purity Ring, and you can hear a bit of that in it. So you're getting a taste of what they do and bringing that into your world. And I'm such a fan of everyone that I was involved with on the record, so it was really cool to have a little imprint from them on it. And
you were able to bring this concept, the album and the comic, together. I know that's something you kind of had in your mind for a while, and you were able to really bring to fruition. What role do you see graphic novels and comics having in literature, in this decade?
Oh my God, I think it's one of the most amazing and somewhat underserved communities. I think people often dismiss comics as something that's for kids, that's sort of naive, that's about superheroes, but it's so not that. It's one of the mediums, I think, that's on the forefront of talking about social issues and being progressive. It's cool because you have this unlimited production value in terms of your ideas, and you can infuse all those important messages into your story without, writing a big essay about it. Take a book like Saga, which is one of the most popular comics, I think, right now. One of my biggest recommendations to people just getting into comics. That confronts issues of classism and racism and war and all this stuff, but it's all in this interweaved into this amazing story that you will get completely sucked into. I think it's a super important medium in all respects, and I hope more people get into comics.
And how did creating the comic and the album kind of help you confront your own battles and issues and pour that into both pieces at the same time?
Oh, it 100% did. The core idea of my story, and this is funny because with music, there's a degree of vagueness you have to write into songs so that people can interpret it the way that they want to, and that's the beauty of music, that people interpret and get what they need out of the song. So you can't, write a time and a place into a song. But you can write how you feel. With the story, I was able to more directly, I think, communicate a lot of things I wanted to talk about. One of the things was environmental issues, and that's been a big cause on this tour as well. $1 from every ticket sale goes to grid alternatives in the States, which are installing solar. And we actually visited one of the sites today here in D.C., and that was amazing. creating solar jobs in underserved communities, and that's a big part of the story where it takes place in this post-apocalyptic world after years of abusing the planet. So I was able to infuse some of those ideas into my story, as well as talk about mental health. It's stuff that everyone struggles with, I think, whether they admit it or not, whether they realize it or not. I struggled with it a lot when I was younger, 10 years ago, when I was first working on music, when I first moved out, and was able to turn that into something that I was proud of. And I think that people should feel that, that it doesn't mean you're broken or that you're weak. I think you turn that all into your story, and that's just part of who you are. It contributes to our strength at the end of the day. And I wanted to show that in like a beautiful way. I use symbolism, and one of the characters in the story represents that inner darkness that you have, and you confront it. It becomes your best friend, your darkest enemy, and eventually you overcome it and become a better person for it.
That. What method and tools do you use to create your comics? In skydiving, you're kind of going digital, or do you prefer the pen and paper, or do you sort of switch back and forth?
What you could see in the skydiving video is exactly how I did it. That was like my actual files. So I started out, when I was first conceptualizing the art, I started out inking on paper, scanning it, and coloring in Photoshop. But it proved to be like pretty wasteful and kind of like an archaic medium at this point, as much as probably traditional comic artists would argue with that. The downside of not doing things on paper anymore is that there are no originals. There's no such thing as originals anymore, which is the downside. But, I can do art on a plane, and it's the best. And so all of it's digital. I work with Clip Studio and a Wacom Cintiq tablet, and I can work anywhere I want, and it's the best. And it's all in a drive.
Gotta love technology.
Yeah.
How do you think the comics have led itself to the longevity of the album?
Comics live on. I mean, music lives on too, and I think that's the beauty. The more you can give to a listener to make them interested in the greater scope of the project, especially today, the better. A lot of people will be drawn to songs that are on playlists or singles or have music videos, but maybe not ever have an opportunity to check out one of the album tracks. But if you have this story that will lead people through the album and vice versa, maybe the listener will invest more time in it. I think that's the trick to longevity, is finding ways to make people invest their time into what you create. And, if that comes from spending a couple minutes watching a video, a couple minutes listening to a song, a couple minutes reading the comic, checking out the Instagram world. I have like an explorable Instagram page called @skin&earth_world, and you can basically like explore the world within Skin and Earth and go deeper and deeper. And actually, I've hidden clips and stuff through there. It's like a bit of a scavenger hunt, but the more time that people will invest in what you do, the more they'll care about it, and that's just the trick to it, I guess.
So 2018, 2017 has really been an era where females are kind of reclaiming their power, kind of saying, I'm not going to put up with crap. How does the main character, Inthekeyofchange, embody that strong female archetype?
It's funny, like I went through a lot of versions of her before I really found the right one. And the first version of her was, I needed her to be heartbroken and sad to bring her to this place of sadness. And I didn't like the way that was because no one is that purely dependent, and nobody's that purely weak. There was a lot of her character that wasn't right. And then I went the other direction, and she was perfect, and she made all the right decisions, and she was almost superhero-esque, and then that's not realistic either. So I think I found the perfect balance in this real, flawed, uniquely beautiful, passionate, creative individual who makes mistakes and fucks up, but still has this degree of hope. And I think that's a more relatable character for me. And that to me is what we should embrace as women. I think there's this expectation of perfection on women, and it's not true. It's just not possible. And then there's an expectation of dependence, and that's not true either. I think we need to embrace who we are, and we are flawed, and that's part of our story, and that's the whole damn point, Through all of our chaos in our life, we find our power, and I think we should be proud of every step of the way.
Yeah, we're not damsels in distress, and I really like that idea of hope. And hope is something that, kind of transcends age, gender. It also transcends through language. And you translated the album into other languages. Why was it important to do that this time around?
Yeah, so I did French, Spanish, Tagalog, and Japanese, as well as English for Giants. And yeah, it was definitely something I wanted to do from day one because of a couple of reasons. All of those languages are special to me in some way, and I you know, like I've always wanted to play in Japan. I love Japanese manga and anime. It's always influenced me. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do a Japanese version. You know, there's every language that I chose has a reason. But also, the comic and just the story itself is all. It's the city in which it takes place is sort of the last city on Earth. So there's like a bunch of different cultures and languages within the world building that occurs in the story. So peripherally in the background, you'll see 1,000 different languages and people of all different cultures and races. And I definitely wanted the translations to reflect that. And reaching as many people as possible with it, man. That's when I first started in music. I remember my manager at the time told me to come up with like a goal that will sustain you through your career. And of course, the peripheral goals have changed all on and off all the time. But the main one was like, I want to reach as many people as I can with music that I'm proud of. So if getting your music out to people who speak other languages helps the cause, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's great. How involved are you in the treatments of the videos for this album, since you are such a visual person and there's such a visual component to this one?
I've pretty much spearheaded all of the vision for all of the videos for this, especially because a lot of them are pretty verbatim to the way the comic is, especially with the most recent video for We Were Here. I basically just kind of slid across the table, issue 4, and I was like, this is our video. And like just watching it come to life was pretty surreal. I remember even when I was drawing that part of the comic, I was, you know, sitting there like in my pajamas, my glass of wine, like being like, oh, I can't wait to make this a music video, because I was having so much fun with like the empowering, like revenge vibe. Like it was just really fun. So in my head, I always knew it was going to be a video, and yeah, it was awesome seeing it come to life.
You say pajamas. You've never been a t-shirt and jeans kind of girl when I see you in person. So how is fashion and that aspect of the visuals kind of interwoven between the comic, your performances, and your music?
It's all kind of part of the same thing. I feel what I wear changes how I feel, and if I wear something that I feel makes me feel tough, I walk out there tough. If I wear something that I feel makes me feel sexy, I walk out there like that. So I like to have a combination of everything, and that's kind of what I put together for Anaya's style and for the whole style of the comic. There's a definitive clothing style from the pink sector, which is one side of the wall in the comic, and there's a very definitive, more apocalyptic-looking style for the red sector. And I had so much fun coming up with it, to the point that I'd been pulling references for so many years that now I've like, that's the style I notice when I'm in stores and when I'm shopping, and that just has worked its way into my wardrobe to the point where I think even some of the items that I referenced in the comic ended up going back and buying, you know, online, wherever I found them, and I found lots of really cool clothing lines through it. My process of researching the way that they were going to look in the books and stuff. So, yeah, when I walk out there, I think you should feel like a sexually empowered badass.
I like that. Sexually empowered badass. I'm going to remember that one. So considering the work and the hours that you put into Skin and Earth, all the components, would you do it again, and would you consider a graphic novel?
Yeah, the graphic novel is for sure happening. That's going to be coming out in June, and with some special new back matter and a new cover. So I'm really excited for that, and we'll take that to a bunch of cons over the summer. And yeah, I think that this isn't the end of the story. It's like, committing to another phase of it is tough because it's all me, and I have to find the time to do it. I was lucky enough to have taken like, honestly, over a year off touring to work on this comic, and that's very rare. I don't get to do that very often. So maybe the next arc takes 3 years to do, but like, I don't think it's the end of her story. I think it's just the beginning.
Excellent. You mentioned earlier great alternatives, $1 from each ticket. Why is that cause so important to you? I think you mentioned a little bit, and like, why did you kind of attach it to this tour?
A couple of reasons. My parents are hippies. My dad is an architect specializing in green architecture, so it's always a conversation in the household, and we're always talking about basically what's wrong with the infrastructure of our current world and where that's going to take us and how we're going to fix it, you know? And it takes people purposely out there trying, you know, we can't just wait for it to happen, because it won't. And I think ultimately raising awareness on the topic, a lot of people just live their daily life not even thinking about it. But this is all we got, man. This earth is all we have, and it's so fragile and amazing. Especially lately. And I think the more people you can bring that vision to, the more people will care for the world and will take steps to help save it and change it. And just talking about grid alternatives on stage at night is really fun, because it's a little reminder, a gentle reminder of that. But also, it's like everyone that comes to shows is contributing too. You know, a dollar from each of these tickets is going to Grid Alternatives. And the cool thing about Grid is I actually visited one of the sites today, right? They're not only installing solar, but they're installing solar in underserved communities, in projects, and creating jobs, training people, helping the community, helping the people that live there, as well as contributing to a better environment. So what they're doing is just awesome, and it was really inspiring being there today. So I hope everyone is proud to contribute when they come to the show.
The next steps in preparing for the future is always important. What's up next for you? What does 2018 look like? I have a feeling it's probably really busy.
Well, this tour goes till April. Lots of festivals this summer. We're playing Firefly and a couple other really good ones that haven't been announced yet. I'm really excited. We're headed to the Juno Awards next month. I'm up for a couple of Junos, which is really exciting. And that's so far. Oh, and the graphic novel in June and a bunch of cons. So